Toro Rosso with drivers, accidents, but also the development continuing apace.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a favourite of mine, Toro Rosso, in terms of their aerodynamic. Lots of very clever ideas that very soon get copied by the rest of the paddock. In Austria, they turned up with an almost unique front wing end plate. And what you have for the end plate, you always have this vertical vane section, but then you have what they call the foot plate, which is the horizontal surface that runs along. And for many years, teams have run this little arched shape along there, which creates another vortex, which helps just manage the airflow under the wing and out around the front tyres. But Toro Rosso, as you can see here, if you look down just beneath the Red Bull on the red wing end plate, have broken that surface now into 3 angled sections. And just as we see on every other aero surface, when you break it up, what that then means is you don't get one big vortex, but you get one created that then gets augmented by the next cut in the surface and the next cut in the surface. So this is just creating more and more strength in that vortex, which goes outboard around the front wheel to, again, manage tyre wake. It's what we talk about every time we talk about aero, really. And some, again, sort of thinking outside the box, to use a cliche, but it's something that Ferrari have played with and other people have played with in other areas, but nothing quite as overt as this. And you can see when this piece came off of one of the Toro Rossos very nicely for us, you can then see there, as the part sits there sort of forlornly on the track, these 3 surfaces, and you can see, obviously, that sits right out by the front tyre, so how important that is. Toro Rosso have been creating lots of their own ideas, but have actually, at Silverstone, copied somebody else's, which is a little unusual. On the wing mirrors. Now, they've copied Ferrari's ducted mirror setup. It actually helps reduce the drag of the mirror pod itself, which is obviously quite a big, bluff body, so you get a horrible airflow behind it. Ducting airflow through it gives you kind of jet, which just brings that wake in a bit tidier, reduces drag. Probably also, as was our original thinking, they could probably play with that to change the angle of the wake of the mirror, which again works with the downwash over the side pods, and particularly with Ferrari's mirror setup. So quite unusual, but Toro Rosso there, take a leaf out of someone else's book.
But then it all went wrong on Saturday, that big accident with Brendon Hartley, yet another big accident for poor Brendon. Left front failure, difficult to know exactly what went on there, but it was the day after, the night after they put the sausage curb on the exit of turn 17. Nobody's relating it to that, but then he did hit the brakes at the end of the main straight and left front suspension failure.
That's very unusual. Again, suspension failures don't tend to happen just in normal conditions. It tends to be something that's overloaded the components, because the teams know the stresses and the loads inside these things. As Mario was saying, almost 1.2 tons of force on a wheel through a corner at Silverstone, which, when you think you've got 4 wheels and the amount of downforce and load that's been put into these cars is quite incredible. And as you saw from the accident, the front wheel started to turn in, and as we understand it, it's the suspension failure, so it's more to do with the wishbones and the track rod rather than the upright itself, which obviously failed for Buemi back in 2010 when both wheels departed the car very rapidly.
In China.
Looked very similar, but I think it was the wishbone itself. And we don't know if it was the wishbone where it mounts for the upright on the wishbone, or the steering for the track rod. Something there failed, then obviously everything else then fails in turn, and the wheel came away secured by its tethers, which did an amazing job considering the force of that.
Which you've explained on Rapid Tech.
Exactly, and then the car obviously barreled through the gravel trap into the barrier. I think the halo probably maybe didn't save him there, but certainly showed that the situation where a car can go semi-inverted into a barrier and gives the driver some protection. So unusual failure. Updated parts were produced. We didn't see it again, but yeah, it does suggest that there was some kind of overload stress in that setup at some point, and the curbs look like a smoking gun to me.